So Sakamoto Days episode 4 has some of the best animation of the series yet. Oh, and blink, you'll miss it. But the voice of Obiguro is actually a cameo, and I got all of the info. But coming out of this episode, the internet seems to be abuzz with the news that Sakamoto Days is ranking in at number 2 on Netflix, and people are still furious over this adaptation for some reason. So let's get into that and so much more. Let's dive into Sakamoto Days episode 4. This channel is supported by you. I challenge you to get 500 likes and 15 subs on this video, as well monetarily support me by throwing me over $1 on my Patreon page, or use my GamerSupps partner code to get 10% off all orders from waifu cups to tub combo packs. So let's jump into the episode. To start off, we see at the very beginning Zhao Tong. I love it, she's freaking out on the roller coaster. Listen, I'm not gonna lie, Zhao Tong kind of low-key is one of my favorite characters just because of how goofy she is. But we immediately move on to a somewhat very interesting scene. We move on to the introduction of Obiguro and Boiled. Obiguro is kind of like, well, she's like into like the hard-boiled type. She's into the psycho. She thinks that Boiled is really hot, and Boiled is just, he's very hard-boiled. He's like that guy from One Piece, if you remember who that is. I forget his name, but he's the guy who was very hard-boiled and he wore like a baby outfit, like he wore like a diaper or whatever. It's very weird, but very funny. And fun fact, did you guys know that Obiguro is voiced by Alexa Bliss, the professional wrestler? I think that's actually really cool. And actually, if you guys watched my first video on Sakamoto Days, I mistakenly said that Aoi Sakamoto was voiced by Alexa Bliss. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. But no, Alexa Bliss voices Obiguro, and as a huge wrestling fan, at least not recently, but back when Alexa Bliss was getting started, I always knew that she was a really big anime fan, and I've been a fan of her work in wrestling for so long now, and I'm glad that actually we have more wrestlers coming over to voice characters in anime, at least for the dubs. I think that's actually such a good fit. This is one of the few times where a corporate integration of some kind actually makes sense, in my opinion, because is anime and wrestling not basically the same thing, just one is in real life and one is animated? I mean, right? Am I crazy for thinking that? But anyways, Lou goes over to put eye drops in Shin's eyes, and I just thought from seeing this, like, man, Lou is such a mom to Shin sometimes. That's why they're perfect, y'all. I'm just saying, I ship the two. I think this is a good match. I think this makes sense. So why not? Bring it on. Bring on the romance. But anyways, turns out that the guy that I have dubbed the Mojito Assassin, he was hired by an organization. He's actually a part of the JAA Assassins, which is also actually funny because we get a lot of lore in this episode for Taro. He used to be a member of the Legendary Order, which, you know, I wonder if all of this is coming into play and they're trying to kill Taro because actually, you know, he did something really horrible in the Order or something of that nature, and they're out to get him because they can't possibly have the secrets of the Order in any way leak out, and they're trying to take him out. I don't know, but we do know that there is a huge bounty on Sakamoto, and throughout this entire, like these last 2 episodes, but primarily this one, oh my god, there were so many assassination attempts. I loved it. I thought this was so much fun. And well, it turns out that none of the Sakamotos decided to kill this guy, which surprises the assassin. And Hana even comes over and put a bandage on his arm to show kindness to him, which at the end makes him go, ugh, is any of this even worth it anymore? And he just leaves to go away. And I think that goes to show the power that the Sakamotos have, namely Hana in, I guess, just bringing happiness and peace to characters in this show. I think that's mostly just because Hana is a character that changed Sakamoto to the core and changed Aoi as well. And I think what that's saying is just like, hey, when you become a parent and when you see a child smile, it makes you want to make that child smile even more, because I think there's a kid in all of us, you know? There's a kid in all of us we want to make smile and we want to make happy. So I think that's why that's such a big theme. I think a lot of what Taro and Aoi have gone through is primarily just because they're really good parents and they love Hana to death. And so do the other, you know, employees. Shin and Lou love Hana just as much as well. She's a little ball of sunshine, is she not? Well, it turns out that the Mojito guy was going to actually kill them as he had a blade, but he decided not to, which I thought was really interesting as well, because I think that completed that little arc there with Hana and him. It just showed that, hey, she changed him. Turns out, though, that Shin's mind-reading powers are on a little bit of a cooldown for the rest of the day because he used it too much, and it's never happened to him. So I think this is another mechanic we got to keep in mind now. Shin's powers are not limitless. They actually do run out if he uses them enough. But we get our first moment here with Obiguro. Obiguro pins down this Mahito assassin guy with her butt, and my god, dude, these Hardboiled and Obiguro are weird. I mean, these people are odd. Boiled chastises Obiguro for sitting with her legs open. He's just like, oh, what am I supposed to look at? Like, what do you mean? What are you supposed to look at? What are you talking about? What are you looking at to begin with? I'm confused. Listen, I need an adult, okay? I need one. But I mean, these two, we learn a little bit of backstory about them. Apparently in the Balkan conflict, I think is what they said, they took out like a bunch of people single-handedly. That's kind of badass. And we do see in this episode that Boyle definitely carries his own weight. Obiguro as well, but not as convincingly as Boiled. Boyle definitely got the shine in this episode, and I think when it comes to seeing more of a character, I think we saw more of Obiguro's character than we did Boiled. So interesting stuff. These guys are actual threats. But I love how Aoi and Hana just randomly reconvene with everyone, and they immediately try because Aoi thinks like, hey, like, what's going on here? Is there something up? Are you guys okay? And every single one of them, they try to make Aoi and Hana not worry, which I thought is just so cute. They want to protect their smiles, so to speak, and they want to protect their happiness, all of them. They seem to all be equally as invested, which I think is just so cute and adorable because it shows that once again, that these two characters are the sunshine of this show. I think without these two characters, there is not nearly as much hijinks and goofiness and happiness. I think this show is totally different without them. And that goes to show how integral they are to the plot, even though they're kind of really honestly just gag characters so far. But anyways, they go into a haunted house, and Aoi, I love it. Aoi and Hana are not scared at all, even though they say it's scary. It's just so funny. Like, they're always happy about stuff. They're just happy to experience life, you know? And that's because they have a good husband and father that are providing for them, and some good employees too that are providing for them as well. I think it's really wholesome and really cute. Also, something that's really funny is Lou she has anxiety medication and she has to take it before entering the haunted house, which I thought, wow, she just like me for real. I take tons of anxiety medications all of the time. But anyways, a bunch of hitmen attack them in the haunted house throughout. I thought that was really creative. I mean, you could see it coming from a mile away based on this show, because it seems just like every episode is just going to be assassin after assassin trying to take them out because of the bounty. So it's very obvious at this point, but it's actually really fun, I think. It's really fun. And it's mostly fun just because we get to see these assassins dress up in these ridiculous haunted house outfits. It's so goofy, it's so over the top, and that's exactly why it's funny. But we get a flashback actually with Taro and Hardboiled, which I thought this was like a really cool little backstory that actually plays really well into the big fight that happens in this episode. And we learn that the ladies, even back then, even in the organization, they loved Taro. One of them actually made for him chocolate bullets out of his shell casings, his favorite shell casings. Also, holy crap, is Obiguro so down bad for Hardboiled. I think that's mostly just because of the joke that hard-boiled men are usually seen as like much more mysterious and attractive, I think, for many people. And so, yeah, Obiguro is just, she is as much of a simp as anyone else is, especially when you compare it to other people like Taro. She's a total simp. But Lou, I love Lou. She keeps downing anxiety meds like crazy, which, as Shin finds out, it's just straight alcohol. That would kill someone. So I'm immediately, you know what? I'll save it till later. But they come upon the dingy Chainsaw Man door. They open it, and out comes a bunch of thugs, assassins dressed as haunted house crew members. And it's just so funny. This Sakamoto takes them all out. Also back with Obiguro. Apparently, Obiguro prefers large, if you know what I mean, which, hey, you know, good for her. And Lou, holy crap, dude. She totally drunk. She is insane. Totally gives me your vibes. But sadly, when she is drunk, she is not nearly as effective as your is, because all Obiguro has to do is just literally shake Lou. She's out. Also, another little detail, Hana and Aoi unconscious, even in this situation, are smiling. They are just so happy. So funny. But Obiguro comes up with this plan. Her idea is to put Shin on a table, strap him down, and for some reason, if Lou can't make contact with her every 10 seconds, then they'll just begin to start cutting up Shin. Which is like so confusing and so unnecessary, but whatever, we're gonna go with it, right? Well, turns out Lou turns into a sad drunk and just gives up, like immediately is like, I can't do that. And Obiguro's like, what the heck? So I guess they're just gonna start chopping up Shin. And poor Shin, by the way, poor Shin. But the last part of this episode is so good. Guys, this animation was wild. The Taro and Hardboiled is such a crazy fight. This has got to be some of the best animation of the series yet, if not the best. I mean, we get the RDP punch, which is just... oh my god, that is one of the best parts of this episode. I love how eventually Taro is able to figure out what the bombs he uses are made out of. And oh my god, at the very end, he just turns into a hot guy. And out of nowhere, so I'm like, okay, so does he put on the pounds? Like, what? Does he have like modes or something like that? Is this like Super Saiyan, where like his normal mode is like the fat guy, but his Super Saiyan mode is like, I don't know, hot Taro? Is like his default state fat? I don't know. It's leading to a lot of questions. But all in all, I'd say that this episode of Sakamoto Days was actually one of the best ones. This was a really good fight. I loved the introduction to Obiguro and all of that. It's just really cool. And Boiled is like a really cool villain so far. I really love his VA in the dub. And by the way, the dub is just really good for this series. I actually didn't expect that, and I didn't expect much. But when I heard that Alexa Bliss was in it, I've been watching the series primarily in dub, and I actually really enjoy it. But the news is out. I was informed by my friend Daniel Taz Media. He said basically that, hey, you know, the charts came out for Netflix, and Sakamoto Days is ranked number 2 in terms of its launch week. So that's kind of crazy and a really big success. It's even more popular than Dandadan was, which goes against, I think, the narrative on Reddit, which comes from, I guess, more of the Japanese side of the fandom, that Sakamoto Days is garbage, trash animation, and it's already failed and nobody's watching it. Well, that's clearly not the case. Clearly, people actually really do love Sakamoto Days, and yeah, just because the animation is not as good, which I will admit, like, it is not as good as other shows. That doesn't mean that this is not something you should avoid. Like, you know, like, why would you avoid something that's actually fun to watch and is good? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like why is it that everything needs to be like a $200 million production from Mappa or something? I don't get that need for everything to be super extreme high fidelity and 120 frames animation where you could see the molecules of the characters moving. Yeah, you could say you're disappointed that the animation isn't that, if that's what you're into, cool. But to say Sakamoto Days is bad and nobody is watching it and all that junk just because, hey, it's not what you think it should be, it's kind of childish, is it not? A little childish. But I'm sure I'm wrong. So put down in the comments below if you agree with me or disagree with me. And if you guys haven't already, please make sure to get this video 500 likes and 15 new subs. As well, support me on Patreon, throw me $1 over there, and use my Gamer Subs partner code to get 10% off all of your orders. Waifu cups, tubs, sus snacks, whatever. Go over, check it out. Thanks for watching. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.